long time ago, there lived a man by the name Mukabi. He had a wife and children. Mukabi decided to go and plow his shamba and prepare it for planting. He woke up very early in the morning and went to work on his shamba. The whole of that day he plowed and prepared it so well in readiness for sowing seeds the next day. The next day he woke up very early in the morning and took his seeds that were ready for planting and left for his shamba. On arrival, he was astonished. The shamba he had spent time yesterday plowing was unplowed. There were a lot of weeds already growing on the plowed land. What was even more perplexing was the fact that grass never grows within a day. It was even more complicated because there was nobody to inquire from of what had happened. He sat on a nearby tree stump to relax and think of the next step. Many unanswered questions were flooding his mind. What should he do? Should he abandon the wicked shamba and go back home? Should he plow the shamba again? What if? After relaxing long enough to think straight, he decided to plow the shamba once more and prepare it well for sowing the next morning. That morning he woke up and left for his shamba ready to plant his seeds. On arrival at the shamba, he could not believe it. Just as it was yesterday, so it was that morning. The shamba was unplowed. He was so drained that he nearly collapsed. He sat on the wet soil helplessly. It took him a long time to ponder his next step. Wisdom finally won his wild mind, and he decided to prepare his farm once again, but promised himself that this time round, instead of going home, he is going to hide where he could see his farm clearly. His suspicious mind had warned him of a plan by some evil being to frustrate him. He could see in his future mind his family starving as the evil being rejoiced. Never. He was not going to sacrifice his family at the altar of cowardice. After making up his mind, he relaxed and began working on the shamba and later on a secret hiding place. He heaped the weeds he had uprooted from his shamba at a single place and went to hide in a nearby bush and observe his shamba. At sunset, he saw a bird fly to where he had heaped the weeds, pick one and move to the prepared land and begin to say, "I plant the weeds Mugabe uprooted." Then the bird planted the weed and flew to the heap to pick another weed. A bird? Why? Why should a bird do this to me? Mugabe was shocked, but he kept quiet and observed to the end. The bird kept picking weeds and planting until the whole farm was green, and then it flew away. Mugabe left for his home and decided to put a snare to capture the bird and kill it. The next day he went to his shamba, plowed it, prepared it for sowing, put a snare on the heap, and hid behind the weeds. In the evening at sunset, the bird came, and as usual went to where the weeds were heaped to pick one. Unfortunately for the bird, the snare caught it, and it could not move. Mukabe immediately came out of his hiding and caught hold of it. "It's over, little bird. You have punished me all these days, but today is your day. Your life on earth is now over. I'm going to kill you and use your flesh to prepare stew for my family." "Please don't kill me," the bird said. "I'm going to supply you with honey for the rest of your life on earth." Mukabe did not believe it because he knew bees produce honey, but birds don't. "Please allow me to step on your palm and put some honey on it," the bird said. Reluctantly, Mukabe flattened his palm to allow the bird do as it wished, and immediately the bird splashed honey on it. "Taste, please taste," the bird pleaded. Mukabe, who thought the bird had defecated on his hand, was now angrier than before. He threatened to strangle the bird, but the bird continued to plead for its life and to convince him to taste the honey. Mukabe reluctantly tasted the stuff. "What? Real honey? How sweet," said Mukabe as he licked his hand. He asked for more, and finally took the bird home and placed it in a pot, and instructed the bird to fill the pot with honey, which the bird did. Mukabe put the bird in another pot, and the bird filled it with honey. He took it out and put it in another and another until all the pots in the house were filled. He then put it in one of the pots and covered it. The next day his children were playing with their friends, and they began a game where one asks friends to reveal what they ate in the morning. It was easy through trial and error to reveal what was eaten in the morning by different families, as they were all members of the same community feeding on the same type of meals. The children revealed what had been eaten by different families except Nukabi's family. "What did we eat in the morning?" Nukabi's son asked his friends. "Porridge," one of the boys said. "No," replied Nukabi's son. "Bananas," another boy said. "No," replied Nukabi's son. "Potatoes," another boy said. "No," replied Nukabi's son. "Then what did you eat? Tell us," all the boys shouted in desperation. "Let me show you," Nukabi's son said as he led his friends to the house. While in the house, he opened one of the pots and scooped out honey for his friends. The friends found the honey to be so sweet. Since it was a rare food in the village, the children kept demanding for more and more, and since their parents were away from the house, Nukabi's boy went back for more, but unfortunately, he opened the pot that had the bird, and the bird flew to the sitting room. The child rushed to capture it, but it flew out into the field. The boy asked his friends to help him catch the bird. They kept pursuing it until they got tired and returned to their homes. Nukabi's son, though tired, could not go back home because he knew that his father could not take it lightly. He kept following the bird and began singing. "I'm following a bird. I'm following my father's bird that produces honey. I'm following a bird. I'm following my father's bird that produces honey." And the bird replied, "Just follow me. Just follow me. I will take you to the sea. Just follow me. Just follow me. I will take you to the sea." They went and went and went as they sang and sang and sang until they arrived at the sea. The bird then flew across the sea. The boy began to cry, not sure of what to do next. He had followed the bird so far, and now it was late in the evening, and he did not know the way back home. As he continued crying, he saw an old woman carrying firewood. She came close to him and asked him what he was doing in the land of ogres. She told him that no human being lives in the land of ogres, for the ogres eat human beings. She told him that she was going to help him as long as he followed her instructions. She revealed to him that she had been captured by the ogres, but they spared her in order to fatten her so that they could eat her later. But when they discovered that she was of value to them because she could gather firewood and cook for them, they decided never to eat her. She put him in the middle of the firewood, which she placed on her head, and left for the ogre's house where she stayed. On arrival, she lowered the luggage of the boy and firewood gently to avoid hurting the boy, and went into the house. The ogres were surprised that she had come in silently, unlike before, when they would realize her arrival by the thudding sound of the firewood as she flung them on the ground. When asked why, she remarked that she had back pain, which was a convincing reason as to why she could not hurl the firewood. When the ogres left, she untied the firewood and told the boy to eat very fast and climb on the Kanungo. She told him that any time she gave him food on the Kanungo, he should never chew the bones, as that could attract the attention of the ogres. The boy stayed Kanungo, only coming down during the day when the ogres had left to hunt and take care of their livestock. One day, the ogres were celebrating by eating, singing, and dancing. The boy found the celebration so tempting that he joined in. As the ogres broke bones as they ate loudly, the boy also began to do the same. The ogres listened carefully and realized there was breaking of bones Kanungo. They rushed Kanungo, pulled him down to eat him, but the old lady pleaded with them, not ready to eat him because she had brought him to be taking care of their herd. The ogres were glad because the boy was going to reduce their workload. Now they were going to hunt while someone took care of their herd. Day in, day out, the boy took care of the herd. Then when he realized that the old woman was getting too old, that she was likely to die any time, the boy then planned to run away and go back to his home. One day he took the herd and began the journey home. On realizing that the boy was running away, the old woman began wailing, calling the ogres to come back, because she knew that if the ogres came back and did not find the boy, they would eat her. She began to sing. "Woi woi, the herdsman I brought has taken away all the goats and cattle, chalalala. Woi woi, the herdsman I brought has taken away all the goats and cattle, chalalala. Woi woi, the herdsman I brought has taken away all the goats and cattle, chalalala. Woi woi, the herdsman I brought has taken away all the goats and cattle, chalalala. One of the ogres heard the wailing while they were drinking and celebrating and asked the others to pay attention to what the old woman was saying. But since they were drunk, they ignored the call and continued drinking and dancing. One of the ogres again heard the wailing and asked, Amandu Abalanga si, which means, what is somebody saying? The other drunk ogres replied, Amandu Abalanga Kupa Ingoma Nuwatuda Nuwatuda, which means, somebody is saying beat your drum and dance and dance. And so the drum was beat louder and louder as they continued dancing. This gave the boy enough time to go unnoticed until he reached the sea. He had to look for a way of crossing very fast before the ogre realized he had escaped, or else they would get him and eat him. He bent low and knelt down, then touching the water, he raised his hand and beat the water with his palm and said, The water of fathers, the water of grandfathers, divide, divide. And the water stopped flowing and split, creating a dry area between the water upstream and the water downstream. The boy crossed to the other side with the herd. While on the other side, he knelt down and touched the water upstream and raised his hand and beat it, saying, The water of fathers, the water of grandfathers, close, close. The water began flowing, closing up the gap that had been opened. Safely on the opposite side, the boy relaxed and began to feed the herd. The ogres completed their celebration and left for home. On arrival, they found that the old woman, being advanced in age, had wailed and wailed and wailed and died. They began searching all over for the boy, but could neither find him nor their animals. They decided to search for him towards the sea, and spotted him across the sea with their animals. They rushed in that direction, but on reaching the sea, then they realized that they could not cross. They asked the boy to help them cross, and the boy did as he had done by beating the water gently with his hand, and requesting the water to stop flowing, saying, The water of fathers, the water of grandfathers, divide, divide. The water stopped flowing, creating a dry area for the ogres to cross and eat the boy. The ogres rushed into the dry path, and when they reached in the middle of the sea, the boy called the water to close, saying, The water of fathers, the water of grandfathers, close, close. The water closed up the gap, drowning all the ogres. The boy went home and arrived whistling happily. His sister saw him and ran to inform her mother. But her mother, not believing and thinking the girl was making fun of her lost son, whom she loved so much, slapped her and told her not to remind her about her dead. After some time, the mother heard the mooing and bleating of goats, and she went to check. She was shocked to see her lost son back home with a lot of wealth. She shed tears of joy as she regretted slapping her daughter.